Right, I think I'm live. Hello. Hello, everybody. Uh, yeah, what's going on? Well, you'll know what's going on today. This day has been about one thing, hasn't it? Then it's been the funeral of the Queen. Um, well, depending on where you're watching. I mean, obviously for me, I'm from England. She was my Queen. Um, that sounds in the wrong way because people use that now to mean their their significant other, don't they? But no, I don't mean like that. I mean she was like my literal queen, and I was a bit surprised actually by sort of how emotional and patriotic I felt today. I didn't realise I was going to feel quite as much as I did, watching bits of the funeral. I didn't get a chance to watch all of it. I saw most of it. But yeah, just the other things I had to do today. I couldn't see like the whole thing, obviously. But yeah, being English, and I quite like our old traditions. I like the history and of it, and how many years these things have been going. And yeah, it might look a bit strange from the outside looking in because there's all sorts of strange little protocols and things. But these are things that have been there for like hundreds of years, and I quite like that we have that history. There are other countries that don't have history that goes back, say over 1,000 years and more, in terms of traditions and history and the way things have sort of gone over time. So yeah, I was quite surprised actually by how I felt about it. I mean, I'm not like a royalist or anything, but I'm not against them. I've always been kind of okay with the monarchy. I'm kind of I thought I wasn't really bothered either way, but actually, yeah, I was surprisingly moved by it more than I thought I was going to be. So yeah, that happened today. Obviously, there's going to be lots of people with lots of different opinions about it. But the Queen herself, I actually thought she seemed like she had a good sense of humour and stuff, and was always, you know, um, in terms of like dignity and stuff, and as a role model, I'd never seen her sort of like doing anything outlandish or ridiculous, or making a spectacle of anything. It's quite extraordinary over such an amount of time and in the public eye, like the whole time, to yeah, to have that kind of legacy. And it's just a bit strange for me because, like, obviously, ever since a child, I'm 41, so ever since I was a child, she was always the queen. It was always her face on the money, on the stamps, and the fact that that's changing just seems really like an alien concept to me. But yeah, we'll start seeing money and stamps coming through with King Charles, and his face on there instead. But yeah, it's just my whole life it's been different. So my whole life it's been the Queen. So yeah, well, that would be a bit strange to see. Um, but yeah, so that was on. I did watch a fair bit of that. Um, I'll not I'll not stick too much on that particular subject. What else is going on? Something I was quite surprised about YouTube. I learned something actually, and I think, yeah, I'll admit maybe I was a little bit wrong. Um, I kind of assumed that YouTube had it in for me a little bit because of some stuff that's happened in the past, but something happened like yesterday. I put out a little short video. You should do them in like portrait format, and if they're less than 60 seconds, YouTube do a thing called Shorts, where it's just like a little thing people can scroll through. So I made up a little one, and it was basically me just telling the story about how I first watched Game of Thrones. And it was all because I was flicking through channels. I'd heard people talking about Game of Thrones, but I'd never actually watched it. I thought, like, I haven't really got time for that kind of thing. I was flicking through the channels one night when I did have a few minutes spare, and it just so happened to be a scene with Sean Bean, and I think it was episode 1. But there was this bit where he's trying to give his daughter a doll, and she was like, "Oh, Dad, I haven't had these. I haven't played with dolls since I was 9 or whatever." And she goes off in a storm or whatever. And he's talking to one of his staff, or one of the people that lives there, and he just says, "Ah, war was easier than daughters." And that line I just loved it because I have 2 daughters myself, and I just like, yeah, okay, this guy gets it. At least there's something a bit more simple and direct about war. You know, in war, you know, your objective is to kill them. They're trying to kill you. Yes, there's some more complicated things in between, but like the ethos of it is quite simple, whereas Daughters are not simple at all. And when I saw that line, I thought, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to watch this, right? I'm gonna watch this show. So I think at that point, everybody else like that I worked with and stuff was on to series 3 or 4 or whatever it was. They'd been watching it for ages, so I had a lot of catching up to do. But that was what swung it for me. I thought, okay, this is worth the watch. Obviously, it turned out to be a brilliant watch anyway. You know, lots of good stuff in there. But and Sean Bean, great actor. Never seems to last very long on anything, does he? Bless him. So many movies where Sean Bean dies. Sorry, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched any movies with Sean Bean in, but he usually doesn't make it. But great actor, great actor. Anyway, I'm sort of going off on a tangent here, but the reason was I put this. It was like a 17, 18-second video, a little short video out on YouTube. And this is the thing, YouTube is so random with its algorithm and stuff, and that. I thought, okay, my short videos, sometimes I get 10 views, sometimes I get 2, sometimes I get 40 views. And this one just shot up within an hour to like about 500 odd, and I think now it's on about 700 odd, and I was like, what is going on? You know, I didn't think YouTube liked me at all. So I had a little look at some of the analytics stuff, and it turned out that I think it was over the last 28 days, I think about 30% or something of my views have actually come from YouTube actually promoting or sharing it in certain, you know, in people's feeds and stuff. So I'll put my hands up and say, okay, I was wrong. You know, I'll admit when I'm wrong. And so yeah, maybe they haven't got in for me quite as much as I thought, since I had some issues with them years back. They will sometimes share my stuff. And I guess there is no rhyme and reason to it. If everybody knew how to figure out the YouTube algorithm, everybody would be mega successful on YouTube, you know. So, but I'll just continue to do this for fun and putting out the odd short video every now and then. But something about that one, people seem to like, or YouTube seem to like it for some reason. And it's a true story. It's why I watch Game of Thrones. Evening, Ragnar. Good to see you in the chat, buddy. Now I know there's usually a little bit of a delay, so I think it's about 30 seconds, isn't it? So, but you ask me anything, mate. Ask me anything at all, and I'll have a chat with you about that. But yeah, Ragnar, because I know you were talking to me about YouTube and how you feel like, obviously, they don't like your stuff because of the topics you talk about and things. But I don't know if you have a look at the analytics bit. I think there is a bit where it says how many views have come from like YouTube sharing stuff, and I was quite surprised. Like 30% of mine from the last 28 days. I think that's how it does it. Was actually them promoting my stuff. So yeah, maybe I was wrong, you know. But yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on the monarchy and the Queen, Ragnar, or whether you watched any of the funeral at all. Let me know there in the comments if you want to chat about that. In the meantime, I'll just get up a few little news headlines that just sort of caught my eye. So first of all, let's see if I can get this on. Remember that James Webb telescope when it had only been up there for a few days and then it got like smacked by a small bit of space debris, and I was like, oh no, great, we can't have nice things because it looks like it's broken already. But apparently it's not broken, so that's the good news. So we are starting to get some stuff from them. So this one here, it said, what was it now? Mars is mighty in first Webb observations of red planet. So I guess this is singing the praises of the images coming back from this though. But what I found was interesting was they've got this little one here, this picture of mapped out Mars. But if you look at the small print, it says simulated Mars image with base maps from NASA and Molar data. So this isn't just a picture from the James Webb thing. This is simulated. I guess these are these ones here must be the stuff from the James Webb telescope. And when I look at that, I'm thinking, is it that impressive? I don't know. I guess there's this analytical stuff here, which I guess scientists is probably more the impressive stuff to the scientists, where they can figure out stuff about the atmosphere of it and stuff. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, it's not that great, is it? Just from a layman's point of view, I'm like, it just looks a bit like a blob to me. But yeah, it was during all the lockdowns and that I got given a really old telescope from a friend who it used to be their father's before their father passed away. I was quite enjoying trying to spot stuff with it. It was when we had some comets kind of in view, but it was usually about sort of 2 or 3 in the morning, and I kept driving out to where I live. It's only about 5 minutes to the coast, to try and get away from the light pollution, to sort of like, you know, observe these. And I kept trying and trying, and I couldn't. It was like at the point where they were visible, the sun was starting to come up and stuff. Eventually, I did actually see with my own eyes the tail of a comet, and it was impressive. I'm glad I took the effort to see it. I mean, I had to keep driving out at like 3, 4 in the morning. And of course, usually with the best times and views, and when it was going to be the best, then it was usually cloud, cloud all over. Or there was a little break in the cloud, but to the wrong direction. Like if it was like to the north, the little break in the cloud would be over to the west or something. So you know, it's like life. But yeah, so I mean, the good news is it seems like this telescope is actually still working. After it got clout, it got smacked by some kind of space debris within the first few days. And yeah, I was thinking it was going to be a very expensive nothing burger, but hopefully they get some interesting data from that. And I'll just quickly go through these other things. So this is just a headline review, right? Okay, I'm not going to look into the articles itself just for fun, but the article said, scientists say refreezing Earth's poles is feasible and remarkably cheap. Well, I can tell you how cheap it is. It's free, because it happens every year. It's called winter. Don't get me started on it. But I'm sure, was it last year or the year before, or like last winter or the winter before, the number of cubic meters of re-iced, you know, when it refroze, was like larger than like quite a few years before. If you actually do some research, it basically just destroys the narrative. But yeah, so I just thought it was funny. It's feasible, well, yeah, it does it itself, and remarkably cheap, yeah, because you don't have to do anything. Winter will refreeze things for you. Anyway, so what's the next one? NASA rover finds a clue to life on Mars. Now, see, again, I'm ahead of the times here, because I distinctly remember years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more, seeing a really good documentary about life on Mars. It even had footage of the little Mars men going around going, ack, 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 and they shot people with these laser guns. It was great. Yeah, really good documentary. So there's definitely life on Mars. Yeah, I've seen the film, and their language sounds something like that. You might have seen it. What else? Oh yeah, this one made me laugh. Oh no, whoa, what? Okay, that's better. Drinking plenty of tea may reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Not for me. It wouldn't for me, because I kind of only like tea if it's got sugar in it, so that would kind of defeat the whole object. Oh, hang on. Ragnar is saying something. What are you saying, mate? The ice caps are actually growing. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I should have looked into this and researched it if I was going to talk about it, but I just saw the headline there. But I'm sure I saw something where it showed the map comparing the years, the different winters and the different years of the freezing. And it was like, it's no issue. Whatever is lost, you know, in the summer when they go, oh, look at all this melting, look, and they show the footage of things crashing into the sea. It's like, yeah, okay. And then it refreezes in winter, because that's just the way it goes. So you say it's actually growing. Is that like something you saw in like an article, or is it an area something that you're aware of, or you just sort of saw some headlines? Or let me know if you know a bit more about that than me, because I only saw like a few things. I didn't sort of see like a deep sort of study on it or anything, but to me it's common sense. But yeah, anyway, this thing, oh hang on, follow Tony Heller, he explains it. Oh right, I'm going to write that down. Tony Heller, L-E-R. That'll be interesting to see. I bet he's silenced if he talks against the narrative they want to push. Yeah, about ice caps and stuff. Then I bet he's very much censored on many places. But yeah, thanks for that. I'll look into that. Yeah, so this headline, what was it about the drinking tea? It does go on straight away and say, oh, this stupid thing. Wait, hang on, get out of it. Drinking 4 or more cups of black, green, or oolong. I don't know how you pronounce that. I think you pronounce it a different way, but anyway. Oolong tea daily was associated with a 17% 17% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So yeah, that's not going to work for me, because those are all the ones, the black green tea or oolong, it basically means without sugar, and to me they just taste like junk. I'm sure lots of people out there like it. No, not for me. More of a coffee bloke, which I know is like heresy for an Englishman, but that's just the way it is. I'm sorry, I just prefer it. So yeah, if I'm having tea, I tend to only prefer it with like at least one sugar in there. And that's not going to help me. I'm just going to pile on the weight if I keep doing that, and then that 17% will probably be increase of getting diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Yeah. The thing with weight and that kind of thing, I've dabbled with before with changing and diets and stuff, because I fluctuate. I'll just tend to put weight on until I get to a point where I think, okay, I'm too heavy now, I need to lose some weight. The one that worked really well for me was when I did keto for a bit, because when I was strict with that and I did that properly, you know, I kept to like 30 grams or less of carbs a day. You do lose weight, it works, but it's just so restrictive in terms of it was making cooking awkward for like me and my wife had to eat separate things, and my kids were always wanting separate things to eat, because what one of them my kids likes the other doesn't and stuff like that, and so it's just it was hard. So yes, Ragnar, yeah, tea is bitter without sugar. Yeah, it is. Although, you know, I used to have this tea with just milk without any sugar, but because I got used to it like that, but then I drank so little of it and just drinking coffee that if I drink tea now, I tend to prefer it to be not quite that sharp, which is odd because I like coffee without sugar in. But yeah, it's just one of them. Everyone's got their own little tastes, haven't they, with tea and stuff. But yeah, black tea. Ugh, that sounds awful. Whenever I've tried, you know, like when I make my wife a cup of tea, if I've tried a little bit of the black tea without the milk in, just to see what it's like, ugh, yeah, no thanks. I don't know why this caught on, but yeah, it probably is good for you. But with all these things, Ragnar, right? They always go on about like, oh, if you do this, you know, it can be a healthier lifestyle, can extend your life, you know, you can live a bit longer. But it's like, I always think of it in terms of, yeah, but where do you get that extra bit of life? Let's say you extend your life by 2 years or even 5 years. It's the last bit, isn't it? It's the bit when you're like your body's failing and you're probably in a old folks home if you're lucky enough to make it to old age. And it's like, am I really that bothered about prolonging that bit of life for this and restricting myself that much just for that? It's like, no. Oh, let's see what you're saying here. My brother does that caveman diet, meat and nuts, and he's ripped. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like when I was doing the keto, it's sort of similar. It was like, yeah, certain nuts don't have too many carbs in. It was mostly just pork chops, beef, chicken. There's a few veggies that don't have many carbs in. You can get away with a little bit of broccoli. Courgettes are great. You can just put them in the oven and roast them. Mushrooms, but it's actually just really good for the human body, it seems, to be on that kind of diet. And it's kind of opposite to what we were always kind of told as we grew up. They were like, oh, avoid red meat. Red meat's bad for you. It'll give you heart attacks. Ooh, and then I was like, the older I get, the more I realise just how much BS I was fed as a kid, like in terms of not literal food, not literally fed, but you know what I mean. The narrative and the information you were given, a lot of it was just bunk. You know, it's like turns out to be completely the opposite. You know, there's guys like older than me who, like, I've seen their pictures on social media where they're like, oh, I just eat mostly beef and this, that, and the other, and do a little bit of working out, and they're ripped and they're like really healthy. Have you ever seen a fat caveman? Yeah, good point. No, they were ripped, weren't they? To be fair, Ragnar, if they're drawing pictures of themselves on the caves, are they going to draw themselves looking fat, or are they going to draw themselves looking like? Because you know what I mean. I know if I was drawing a picture of myself on a cave, I wouldn't be drawing me as scrawny and fat-bellied as I am. I'd be like, but no, I get what you mean, and I think there's truth in that. They would have been fit, wouldn't they, if they were the guys that were just living by running about trying to catch animals and stuff. You know, throwing spears and bows and arrows and things. Yeah, I don't see them being like 30 stone, or however many clem that is. You know, that's a measurement I don't know. I've heard that here in the northeast, clem, and Bootneck talks about it. I don't know what it means. Just that if you've a lot of clem, then you're a big person. Anyway, this is just a quick one, Ragnar, because I don't really have many subjects or any subjects to talk about, really. So if you've got anything you want to pop in there, just pop it in there and we'll talk about it. But I was, like I say, I was pleasantly surprised about that little short video. It just took off, and like I kind of ballsed it up because I was trying to get. I thought the middle frame of the video was what it selected for its the image that people see, and it kind of went wrong, but that didn't seem to hinder me. That for some reason, even though it gave away the line that made me watch Game of Thrones, it kind of was like a spoiler. It's still people were watching it, so that's cool. I don't know. Did you watch Game of Thrones, Ragnar? Did you see it? See, I was so far behind with it because I'm usually behind with everything. That people were talking about the Red Wedding episode, the infamous Red Wedding. People were talking about that, and they weren't spoiling it so much, but people were just like, "Oh, have you seen it?" And then if people were like, "Oh, I haven't seen it yet," they were like, "Oh no, I'll not tell you. You watch it." And that even wasn't even what got me into it. I just thought, no, everyone's talking about this thing, but it was. I just so happened to scroll through and see him say that war was easier than daughters line, and that had me totally. But yeah, Sean Bean was great in that, from what I remember. It's been so many years though. I should probably, if I ever got time, rewatch some stuff. It's like I was watching Better Call Saul. I really enjoyed Better Call Saul, and when I got to the end of that, I thought I'm going to maybe re-watch from the start a little bit of Breaking Bad again, because it'll probably make some of it'll make a lot more sense now that I know the backstories of these guys. Let's see what you're saying here. I watched the first Game of Thrones because a lot was filmed here in Northern Ireland. Ah, yeah, of course, yeah, you're from Northern Ireland. Because hang on. That was a mistake. Right, there we go. Some friends of mine, they have a ice sculpting business in Liverpool. A couple of lads I went to university with started a business in Liverpool, ice sculpting, and they were really pleased. They got to go across to Ireland for some of the filming, because there was this one scene. I don't know if they ever tied up what it was all about, but it was like where it was at the end of some episode. There was the Ice King, I think. He had like this little baby that he got from that fella up in the north, whatever. But he was carrying this baby into this circle, and there was all these sort of big, sort of spiky bits of ice around in a circle. And so my friends were the ones that were commissioned to make those kind of ice structures that kind of like horns, I guess, all around this circle. They put those together, so they had to. So that wasn't like just a CGI ice. They actually created those things of real ice. They're called glacial art. Glacial art, for anybody who wants to look them up. They do really, really great stuff. If people have like weddings, they do like ice luges where you like pour your shots down, like shot of vodka or whatever, and then you drink it at the bottom. So remember for one of the James Bond movies, they did the Walther PPK. Am I getting it right? PPK or PP7? Yeah, that's embarrassing. I've forgotten my gun info. But anyway, the Walther pistol, they had that as an ice luge where like you pour your drink in the top and then you're at the bottom of the barrel of the gun to get the drink into your mouth. They do all that kind of stuff for like weddings and things, and ice bars for corporate events and stuff. But yeah, they were made up because they got to go over and be part of the sort of filming there. I think was most of it filmed over there, or quite a lot of it, I believe, was filmed in Northern Ireland. I have a daughter stalking in the background. Hello, do you want to come say hello? This is a live stream, by the way. So yeah. Let me see what you're saying here. Load of your mates got parts. Oh, great, cool. In the Black Watch, and some appeared in Sons of Anarchy. Oh, of course, yeah. Sons of Anarchy. There was the bit where they go across to Ireland to try and get his son back. Wasn't it? His baby son was kidnapped by that guy, and they go over to Ireland. I think it was at the end of the first series, start of the second. That's cool. Oh, what a great opportunity it would be if you were free and available to go and be like an extra in something like that. Particularly because obviously when they film those things, depending on when it's filmed, you wouldn't have had any idea that it would blow up to be so big. I mean, Sons of Anarchy maybe, because it wasn't the first series. I think it was the second, I believe. So they might have had more of an inkling as to how big it would be. That's a great show as well. Yeah, very dark, very, very gruesome, but interesting. Why are you passing me your phone? Oh, okay. Good night. I'll charge it for you. Okay. All right. See ya. I've been given a job. Right. Pull that there so I don't forget. Have I missed anything? Did you manage to get across, Ragnar? Did you manage to get yourself in the shot? Or were you busy or working? I imagine you didn't, because I would have thought you probably would have said if you managed to get a bit part in there. So I guess the stuff with the wall and the Black Watch was filmed in Ireland. Yeah, good filming location, because obviously you've got all the it's the scenery, I guess, there. Although, are there any other reasons? Is there like tax reasons or anything like that why it's a good place to film? I don't know, but I know they film various things in Ireland. But yeah, I'd forgotten about Sons of Anarchy. It's been years since I saw that as well. That was great. I guess the good thing is once something goes past like 10, 15 years, I could probably re-watch things from the start and still enjoy them. Even though my memory for some things is shocking, but my memory for other things is really good. And when it comes to the salient points of things that happen in TV series, I tend to be okay with that. I've got this weird kind of almost autistic level memory for sort of songs. Not all, well, sometimes the lyrics, but more so listening to like a song and I can tell whether it's the recorded version or whether it's just slightly off. Like if somebody's singing live, but they're lip syncing, but they're doing a good job. But I can usually be like, this is the recorded track because I know the little intonations and stuff. For some reason, my brain seems to work well with that kind of thing. So within a few seconds, I can usually sort of say, no, this is live because they just sang that line slightly differently to they do in the recorded one and stuff like that. But with TV series and that, some of the stuff, the salient points I remember, but other things I forget. So like when I first started watching the Breaking Bad again after not seeing it for years, I was laughing because there was lots of little lines I'd forgotten and funny bits. So yeah. Yes, night night. I'll bring up some water in a minute. Okay. That's my eldest just going off to bed there. Anyway, what time is it? What time is it? Yeah, I should probably go and say goodnight to her and get some water for her. So I will say goodnight to you, Ragnar. Thank you very much for coming on and having a chat to me. It makes this much more interesting when I've got somebody to talk to. It's usually just me talking to a wall, you know. It's just me staring at the sort of the wall and the screen, talking to myself. So yeah, thank you. That makes it much more interesting. And I appreciate you coming on and saying hi. So you have a great night. Everybody out there, have a great night, and I will see you all the next time I do a stream. Alright, bye.